Alice came to a fork in the road. "Which road do I take?" she asked. "Where do you want to go?" responded the Cheshire Cat. "I don't know," Alice answered. "Then," said the cat, "it doesn't matter." If we don't know the destination, how do we know where to go? That's what we're going to break down today. Coach Barrick, Equity Podcast, giving you tools to be fit for life. 2024 is just around the corner, and we like to talk about, this time of year, we reflect on what we've done in 2023 or in the past year. What were those goals? What were we doing? And we like to start looking forward into the next year, into 2024. And we're gonna talk about that a little bit. So, from that bit right at the start, if we don't know where we're going, how do we know which way to go? If you don't know where you're going, you don't know what actions to take to get you wherever you want to be. Excuse me. If you're trying to get fitter or healthier, that's good. But if we can be a little bit more precise in that, if we can have some specific numbers in mind, that can guide us a little bit more, right? So, for example, if we have a runner who, is consistently running and, running 4 days a week, and like, man, I want to improve my fitness. Well, is running more going to make that person fitter? I'll lead to probably not. If they're running 4 days a week, there's probably some other areas that we can focus on that can help us be a little bit fitter, a little more well-rounded, a little healthier, right? Working some strength work, working some mobility, right? Running is generally in one plane. You're just going straight ahead, very repetition, a lot of volume, and that can breed imbalances and limitations in range of motion. So by focusing on some other areas besides just running more, we can actually be fitter. We can be healthier. And again, that's not saying that running's bad. That's just an example, right? It can be the other side of that, where all I'm doing is bodybuilding, or all I'm doing is CrossFit, or all I'm doing is whatever. Adding some other training or other periods of time to do other things can help round us out. If I can't run 400 meters without being completely gassed, that's probably not a good idea. That's probably, sorry, it's not that it's a bad idea. We could probably even out our fitness a little bit more. So that was a really long example. So when we start planning for 2024, for the future, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, if we don't know where we want to go, how do we know how to make decisions? If I want to retire when I'm 65, what are the decisions I need to make now in order to make that plausible? Not just retire like, oh, I'm going to barely squeak by, but to make sure that, I can actually do it and be comfortable. Like I'm going to treat the things that I'm doing now, I'm going to do differently if I'm thinking about that down the road. Oh, but I don't want to do that. Like, if that's the goal, right? And we can have multiple goals in that, right? Hey, I also want to go see the Redwoods next year, but I also want to make sure that I can retire by 65. And we can have both of those. Now, what do I have to do throughout the year in order to make those things happen, to accomplish those goals? So understanding where we want to go is the important thing. And this is where I think people struggle. It's just thinking about that. A lot of people, they just go through their day. It's like, I just need to get through today. I just need to get through today. But if you keep doing that your whole life, we're never going to figure out, hey, what do I really want? What do I really want to get to? We need to spend some time in our own head with a piece of paper, with a pen, with a whiteboard, um, with your significant other, with your business partner, with a book, thinking about what we want and what are the actions that are going to help me get there. So when I like to do this every year, I like to think about, hey, what are my goals for the year? And then I also like to talk to Krista. Hey, what are our goals for the year? And then we have the business. Hey, what are our goals in the business for the year? Right? Just kind of three separate areas. But then even inside of that, for myself and for Krista, we like to actually think about different areas in our life. And this is coming from a book called The One Thing. We kind of use that as a base, and we've kind of changed some of the questions, and you can kind of change them to make sure that they fit for you. But we like to think of some different areas. So, what are our goals for my physical health? Right. So these are like different areas of your life that you should probably put some attention on. What are your goals for your physical life? What are your goals for your personal life? For your relationships? For your job, for your finances, for your business, for your spiritual life, right? All those different areas. What are your goals for those things? Now, that can be a lot. So, one of the things that that book does and that we found super helpful is to have some questions that ask yourself to kind of guide you into what you want to do and what you want to look for. Hey, here's some questions as like a prompt, right? Like when people journal, they generally just don't write whatever they're thinking. That is part of it. It can be part of it, but sometimes what they do is, like for me personally, is I have specific questions that I answer every night. So this is kind of the same thing where I have a prompt that'll kind of give me some, hey, this kind of gets the wheels turning, kind of write some brainstorming out, and then I can write some goals. And then what I like to also think about with those is I have those goals in mind. Why do I want those things? And you don't have to justify them per se. Like you can want something just because you want it. That's okay. But understanding, hey, what's the underlying why for that? And it could, some of them could be I just want that, right? It could be I want to lose 30 pounds for your physical health. That's because, hey, I want to feel more confident, right? Whatever those things are. So we have the goal, we have the why, and then we have what's the action we're going to do throughout the year to help us do that thing. What's the action? How are we going to track it? So along with this podcast today, I'm going to have a PDF for you guys, free download PDF for you guys to check out. And it's going to have these 7 areas. I always forget if it's 7 or 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 areas. So it'll have the 7 areas. And there'll be some prompts for you to walk through. And then there'll be a table with 3 columns. Goal, why, and action. Right? And these are goals. This is going to be specifically for the year. So when we do goals, we like to use our SMART goals. You can look that up really quick. SMART: specific, measurable, obtainable, time bound. I always forget the R. Realistic. SMART goals. But we're talking 2024. But we also want to think about, this is a really good time to think about, hey, what does our 3-year goals look like? What do our 5-year, 10-year goals look like? Right? And we can think about those goals in all of those areas as well. Where do I want my physical fitness to be next year, but where do I want it in 3 years and 5 years? Where do I want my finances to be? When we have that end picture, we can start working towards that. And that's not to say that our goals aren't going to change, because they probably will and they probably should. But if we're working towards that thing and it changes a little bit, we're still headed in the right direction. Right? You might have to change a few degrees, but that's okay. And even if it is a complete switch, you still made progress on that goal, and that shows you that you can do that thing, that you have the capacity to work towards your goal and to get there. So now we just switch gears and be like, all right, let's start going this way. But when you really sit down and think about what you want, it can be uncomfortable at times. That's when like real motivation can start. Not just motivation, but like that's when things can really start hitting hard. And this is why when we start at Equity, when we have somebody start at Equity, we start with a no sweat intro, and we talk about, hey, why are you here? That's literally the first thing I ask. Why are you here? What brought you in today? And usually it's something very surface level, and then we kind of dig down a little bit deeper. All right, that's cool. You're here because you want to lose 30 pounds. Well, why do we want to lose that 30 pounds? I want to be able to fit in this dress. All right, why that dress? Why do you want to be able to fit into that one? Like we dig down, because when it starts getting hard, because it's going to get hard, anything worthwhile is uphill. It's going to get hard, and it should, because if it didn't, it's probably not worth it. When it gets hard, we want to remember that why, so that we can dig in and make sure that we keep working towards it, because that's what we want. That's what we're striving for. So last week we talked a little bit about the measuring side of goals and reaching towards something else. Right? We want to set these goals, but we don't want to compare ourselves to where we're trying to get to. We want to compare ourselves to where we've been, how far we've come. That's what we want to measure against. But in order to make that progress, in order to look back, we need to know where we're going. Because if you don't know where you're going, you don't have anything to compare to. You can't compare yourself to yesterday because you didn't work towards anything yesterday. So, let's wrap it up in a bow. Christmas season, right? See, it's funny. If you have to say it's funny, it's not funny. That's not true. Anyway, when this is the time of year, think about how far you've come in 2023. What were those goals? How can you make sure that you're working towards them? How can you do a check-in every quarter? See how the past year went, and then reevaluate. What do I want? What do I want in these 7 areas of my life? Where do I want to be in 5 years, next year, in 5 years, and 10 years? Think about the life you want to have. Think about the person you want to be in the future. And set up that why and those actions to get you there. Hope this was helpful. I know it's super, super helpful for me every year, especially sitting down. Like, doing it for me is like awesome, but doing it with Krista, doing it with your significant other is just really, really awesome. Like, it gets you on the same page. Doing this with a business partner, doing it with, like, if you have a colleague that you work really close with, like, it can be so helpful, and it just gets you on the same page. You don't. So then that way you're just not assuming that you're both on the same page. You actually are. And if there are differences, that's okay. How do we figure that out? This lets us know we're on the right road. We're on the right path, working towards where we want to be. Thank you so much. If you think this was helpful, please share it with somebody that might get some value out of it. I really, really appreciate you taking time out of your day to work on yourself and add another tool to your toolbox. Thank you, and cheers.